Well, big highball and hello to all the model railroaders and rail fans out there, and welcome to July 2026 edition of the Central Division. Hey, hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing a lot better since the last time I talked with you. I know the last update that I did, I told you I had shoulder surgery coming up in late March, and for those that don't know, I had a full rotator cuff tear in my right shoulder, as well as a partial bicep tendon tear in the right arm. Again, I think kind of what happened, I believe I told you guys, is I think went a little overboard at the gym if I had to guess what caused it. But in any case, I've had the surgery, the PT's done. I've got the full, as you see here, the full range of motion back on the right arm and right shoulder. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm kind of getting back in the gym and then slowly introducing more and more weight. I will not be going crazy like I did before. It's kind of like, kind of the old saying goes, it's like stay active, but also know your age. So I'll be taking it a little bit easy, but hope anyway to get the, kind of like back up to where I'm was before as far as the strength and everything there. So doing very well. Besides that, it's actually been a really busy summer. So I've been able to do some model railroading stuff. I'm going to be sharing with you. One of the big things that's kind of taken up my time is my wife and I will have a table at an upcoming train show in Conway, Arkansas. And it's a model train hobby show. And of course, I'll put the information down below for those that are local and wish to attend. Mainly model railroading, but again, there's a lot of artisans out there that'll be selling the product, different types of hobbies. Now, my wife, she does embroidery, so she'll be doing that. And I'm taking kind of the first steps out as far as selling model railroad products. I've developed a track grunge system as well as a gravel parking lot road system. And I think it's really going to kind of meet the need of the model railroaders out there, as well as other modelers like military modelers and things like that. First time I've ever done this, so this will be kind of like kind of a test market. If possible, I'm also going to be doing demos at the show, but hopefully I'll have some interest there, and we'll see how well this sells, if it's going to be worth kind of continuing on or not. So next update, I'll kind of give you let you know how that went. So with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to show you what I've done. So some of the projects I've been working on since I talked with you last is kind of completing some structures. Especially kind of early on in the shoulder recovery phase. I had use of both hands. I couldn't do a lot of stuff, but it was a great time just to kind of sit down and work and finish up some structures. And one of the structures that I finished for the layout is this laser cut kit farmhouse. Now this one was a little temperamental. It was a new kit. It was a discontinued kit. And I picked it up at a hobby show in Oklahoma. And just from the severity of the warping of the wood components, it's obvious the thing had been sitting in a really hot environment for a while. But a lot of patience, and my wife's heavy iron skillet couldn't resolve. So I'm really pleased with the final results. The one thing I did kind of differently on this kit is it came with just the standard rectangular shingles. So growing up in an old neighborhood, a lot of the houses, those built kind of the early part of the 20th century, had what is called a diamond pattern shingles. Some people even call them dragon scales. I've heard that too. And so I went ahead and went with that type of roofing, and really came out, I think, looking pretty nice and wasn't hard to apply. It's just like the other type of HO roofing that you apply to a structure. This had the sticky back, and you basically just had the rows of shingles, and you would just apply them over time. A little bit tedious if anyone's ever applied this type of shingles to a structure, but again, just kind of really happy with the results here. Now, I kind of like to tell a story as far as the scenes and things that I have in my layout. So here you have an older lady, and she's sitting out in her rocking chair, and I'm trying to zoom in a little bit. It might be about as far as I can go, but she's holding her purse here, so probably just waiting for her ride to come and get her. Maybe it's a Sunday morning, she's going to church. Got this other rocking chair here, and by the way, these are both the rocking chairs are mini prints, and the figure is just a surpriser figure. So basically, on the figures, I always do kind of just a shot of dull coat. Kind of you cut down on that plastic shine here, and of course I've got the roof weathered with just a couple of different weathering powders here. Kind of, if you do that, you want to kind of go light. You don't want to like just go overboard, especially in your darker colors and things like that. But it turned out, I think, really nice. So the overall scene, I'm going to kind of zoom out here and moving the camera to the right. And y'all have seen this before. This is kind of like my station scene. I had the Van Buren Depot in the background, and then I have just kind of this wood-covered hill here. And behind the hill, it's basically just, I guess you could call it semi-hidden staging. So the train kind of comes in past the station and runs here. So originally I was just going to put trees, but then I said, I've got room to do a scene. So when it's all said and done, kind of a plan is I've got to bring the hill up a little bit, kind of extend that out there, and we'll have trees behind the structure. On the left here, I'm going to have a small garden. I'm going to have the lady's husband or boyfriend, we'll say acquaintance, kind of working here. And since I model the fall, I think it's like the perfect thing will be to have a pumpkin patch. So I kind of have a little pumpkin patch here, and then I'll have kind of a small road kind of like disappearing here behind another tree line. And I kind of move the camera over to the left there. So it kind of looks like they can, they didn't have to walk up the hill to get to their house. They actually have a little road that disappears behind the trees there. So, but anyway, I'm really pleased how this turned out. And again, I think once it's all said and done, it's really going to be kind of a neat looking scene. And again, I kind of like the story it tells. Okay, so kind of the area that I'm working on now is around the Fort Smith Junction area. And to kind of give you an idea of where that's located on the layout, especially if you've never visited before, I'm going to kind of pan the camera over to the left here. And you see there is the OK feed mills. And I'd say that's probably, I'd call that the area is kind of 90% done. So kind of my pattern is I'll finish an area and then move on to the next area. And kind of what I've done since building this layout, just kind of start at the beginning and work my way around. So kind of the look and theme I'm going for here is an area it's pretty common in Fort Smith, as well as a lot of towns and cities around the country, is where you have a mixture of business, industrial, and residential kind of in the same area. Now Fort Smith traditionally, even before the era that I modeled, 1970s, has traditionally been kind of a blue-collar working town. And so way back when, and even up to today, you see a lot of that mixture of residential and business, and many times the houses are really close to like a large industrial complex. So kind of give you a little bit of tour here. So kind of what I'm doing, and again, these structures may or may not be used. I'm kind of getting kind of an idea of kind of the final look I want to go for here, but we'll move the camera over to this side of the street. And so you see here, I've got a couple of houses. Unfortunately, this house is, the upkeep hasn't really been good in the last few years. So it's starting to get a little bit dilapidated, and unfortunately, just the fact of life, that's not too uncommon in an area where you start to see businesses kind of encroach in on a neighborhood. And then across the street, we have a small business that I'm putting in. So this could have pretty common, an area that maybe even had houses at one time, and these are torn down, it's rezoned, and again, you have a business or an industry that moves in. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what type of industry do I want to put in here? And what I decided to go for is a truck parts business. Now, I want to show you an image here. This is a few miles from my house, and is in an area kind of like on the layout that I'm showing you here. We have residential and then you have business. It's pretty mixed. But from the images, my assumption is this is a company that purchases trucks in all kind of different conditions. I mean, even like complete wrecks. And what they do is they, if somebody needs a repair part, a truck part, that's what they do, is they'll pull it off these wrecks and they sell them. So now the image, it's a modern, it's like taken a few days ago. So I'm going to have that, where I'll have the trucks in different conditions here. But of course, modeling the 70s, these would be vehicles from the 70s era back to probably won't go any further than the late 50s, early 60s, that kind of thing there. But I think it's really, once it's said and done, is kind of, it's going to be kind of a cool industry, kind of add some interest to the layout there. I've always liked, I don't know what it is about it, but I've always liked kind of the gritty kind of industrial scenes like that, old trucks and such. Now, another thing that I've put in here, and again, this isn't permanent either. I've actually kind of got this secured in with a little bit of tape. I'll probably end up moving around. But unfortunately, and I'm sure these our neighbors across the street here in the layout don't like it either, is again, in these mixed areas, a lot of times you start seeing the advertising go in the billboards. And so that's what I have here. So this is, I'm drawing a blank on the maker of this kit, but I'll put a caption there below. But anyway, this is basically just a laser cut kit of a kind of an early, I'd call it early modern billboard. You saw these like in the 60s and 70s. Some are still out there. So on this, I did decide, since I don't have anything, named after me on the layout, I thought, well, come on, you got to treat yourself. So anyway, this is the Musgrove Sign Company. And you see that even on the billboards today. They'll have the name of the advertiser, the sign company that does this. And so then the kit came with different types of advertising, but I decided to kind of use my own. So I did a Google search, came across an ad, printed it out, and put it on the billboard here. And true to the 70s, the cigarette ads are really popular. Now, I was just going to show you the billboard and kind of move on, but unfortunately in this day and era, everything is like, gosh, politically correct, you got to give an explanation. So, in no way am I pushing, endorsing, or promoting use of tobacco products, smoking of any kind, vaping, or anything like that. Personally, I think it's a very nasty habit, very expensive habit. Personally, I'm glad, I didn't, because I grew up in the era where smoking was common, but I never did, get hooked on cigarettes, thank goodness. But being kind of a history nerd, I'm like, history, you got to take the good with the bad. And so, especially since I'm modeling the 70s era, you had these cigarette billboards that were really popular. Of course, the Marlboro Man, the cowboy image. Unfortunately, all these guys are probably, if they haven't already dead, they probably have emphysema or whatever now. But at the time, that was kind of the big theme is, real men smoked, and that's kind of what they pushed. So I think it's really going to be kind of a neat addition to the area. I mean, not only does it say 1970s, but again, it kind of brings home this kind of mix of business, residential, in kind of the same area here. Now I've got the road in, and I've still got to do some work on that, obviously. And of course, this goes past the railroad crossings here, and then to the end of the layout. And I think once it's all said and done, I'm gonna try to do some tricks here. I've actually got to go back and I've got some road gray on my sky, so I've got to go back and do a little touch-up blue. But I think I'm going to use probably bushes and trees to kind of just, disguise that as much as it can, where it doesn't look like it just comes to abrupt halt up against the wall, at least kind of from an angle. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Now, you probably notice here the railroad crossings, and so I'm gonna kind of that's another project I've been working on, and so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that. So another detail I've decided to add here is an animated railroad crossing. And I tell you, I've always liked LED lighting on a layout and some of the effects you can see now. It's really incredible of the things that you can do. As again, kind of my opinion, as long as it's done tastefully and is in the realm of realism. Again, just my opinion. So I think kind of where this goes back to is a few years ago, my wife and I were attending a train show, and this guy had this incredible module of a oil refinery, including he had, decked out with the different LED lighting and stuff. And my wife said, man, the lighting it just looks incredible. And she said, man, Joe, I wish you had some lighting in your layout. And I couldn't agree more. Of course, at the time I was, the layout was still fairly new. I wasn't anywhere near putting in LED lighting. But since then, as I've moved on, I've got a large communications tower that has the blinking red warning lights I've put in. So this is the second detail that I've added that actually has the LED lighting. So to give you a little bit of information on kind of the system that I decided to go with, these are the Walters, the cantilever crossing signals. Walters, they call it the post-1960 style of cantilever. They also have a more modern cantilever, and you actually still see these today. And interestingly enough, looking around, Walters is the only company that I saw that has, basically the ready-made cantilevers with all the signals and things installed. So if there's anyone out there that knows of another company that makes kind of the ready-made cantilever kits, the crossings, let me know. I'd love to hear about that. I just put it down in the comment section there. The only thing I had to do was I went ahead and hit both of these with a little spray of dull coat, kind of cut down on the shine, and then I added in the 2-track sign to let drivers know the signal was protecting 2 tracks. Now, this is not a permanent placement. That's why you see that this cantilever here is kind of leaning. I've still got some detail and stuff to do around this area, so I've got to be able to move them if I need to. But they are active. Now, the signal system I decided to go with is from a company called Azatrax. There's a couple reasons I really like them. One, I found Azatrax, well, the price, I say 3 reasons. One, the price is comparable to other systems out there. The second thing is, compared to some other systems, the module system that you got was expandable. So later on, if I wanted to add like a bell sound or add additional sensors for the signaling, I could do that quite easily. And really the most important thing, and again, especially, I tell you guys, I am not an electronics guy at all. It's probably the least favorite thing as far as that I have to do on a layout. If some people love it, I'm just not a big fan of it. So I really like having somebody you can reach out and ask and can be very helpful. And so I did have a couple of questions as I was installing the system, and the owner of Azatrax was very quick to get back with me and kind of answer my questions and help me out there. And by the way, the kit itself is, or the signal system itself, even if like me, you're not like an electronics guy, very easy to put in. Very easy to put in, no problem whatsoever. So the way this works is the signals are activated by an infrared detector in the track. So the train will go over the sensor, activate the lights, and if my train kept traveling along here, it would eventually hit the other sensor on the other side of the crossing here, and then once the train was passed, it would shut off. Now, the way this is programmed too is, right now I've got my train is stopped, so it's past one sensor. It hasn't hit the other sensor on the end of the track yet. So what this does is, this will keep, the lights will keep active for about 30 seconds, and then it'll shut itself off because it says, okay, the train has not hit the sensor on the other side of the track. Yeah, you see it's kind of cut off there. So either the train has diverted onto another track or it has backed up. So really, if I would say about the only thing, if I had to say anything negative about this system is I wish it had the ability where you could control the timing of the automated shutoff timing. I think that would be good, but that's a very minor thing. So if you're looking for a system, I definitely, would look at as attracts, excuse me, as one option there. Okay, so you see the layout continues, although there hasn't been a lot of progress, but we're still getting there. And again, for those that are interested in attending the Model Railroad Hobby Show in Conway, I'm going to put the information down there again. I tell you, this has really grown. I think it's the second or third year they've had this in Conway, Arkansas. It started in Jacksonville, and it's just the facility, it's just the hobby show outgrew it, and so it's been moved to a bigger, nicer facility. And if you're in the area, it's certainly worth driving in and just checking that out. So until next time, wishing everyone happy model railroading and highball.